Frank,
Duncan.
I thought streaming services were supposed to make me happy. Why am I so sad all the time?
Well, well, I don't know about you, Duncan, but streaming services are the only thing that bring me joy.
Well, it sounds
Um,
like we've got two different opinions.
wah, wah, wah. Well, we're gonna hop into it. We're gonna talk about all about streaming today.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about your Disney Plus, your Netflix, your Hulu, your Amazon Prime, your Peacock, your Paramount Plus, your Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus. Why does every streaming service put the word plus at the end of it?
Because
And
it's
Tubi.
more. My
No,
God.
not Tubi. What was the one with the phone?
Zuby?
QB.
Quibi.
Quibi.
Yeah.
Quibi.
My God.
Um,
Everything you just listed, is that real?
that almost every one of those, I think. Yeah.
Oh
I
my
think
God.
no, Tubi is real. Yeah, those are all real. And that's not even close to all of them. And there's probably more in the works. So as our listeners know, if you've been with the podcast, we're a little behind with the What We Watched podcast.
Sure.
But me and Duncan have talked, and we are committed to getting back to the week to week. And we think we're going to catch up soon. And after that, obviously, we won't be able to do what we watched this month because time.
Time.
So we want to introduce like these little episodes, and like I have a list of ideas of stuff I want to talk about. I mean, I want to do episodes. Obviously, we're doing streaming today.
Mhm.
I'd like to do one about like fan expectations, maybe one about like toxic fandom and like toxic film discourse.
Oh, we know enough about that, huh?
And I love like in the go looking back, I was looking back at the beginning of our channel, and I loved we did like the 10 movies to get to know me episode. I love that episode. I re-listened to that, and I love it. I want to get back to doing stuff like that. And so after this, I think we are just going to crank through getting those what we watched out to you guys. And then after that, it's going to be stuff like this. So I just want to kick it off right now and say, if you guys have any ideas, if there's any like big topic subjects you want us to talk about, definitely let us know in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you give this podcast that little thumbs up? So
Yeah, we
yeah.
are creatively bankrupt if it's not our monthly reviews. So we need content ideas. So
That is
start
true.
farming.
And my computer was acting all wacky today, so I have to record today's episode off my phone. So I apologize in advance.
Frank is usually not this low bit,
I know.
this low resolution.
Son of a gun. Duncan, I'm just going to start off the bat. What's your favorite streaming service?
Oh, I get to pick a favorite. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they're all. My opinion on streaming services is that they're all lacking in something.
That's fair.
I think as far as reliability, I'm going to go with Hulu. I feel like Hulu always has some kind of TV show for me to just lose myself in.
That's fair. I think Hulu is a great choice.
They've got a good
and again,
library.
I think that's like a great thing to get into too. Like to me, like there's pros and cons to each streaming service. Like HBO Max for me, like I love it that they have all these really like they have Turner Classic movies on there. I can go back watch stuff from like the 40s and 50s that like you're not going to find on Netflix.
Exactly. Right.
But then what does Netflix have to offer? Netflix is just making these huge blockbuster movies. They put out more.
They got the budget somehow. Yeah.
They put out more than they make, which isn't probably the best business model, but as a consumer, it's pretty great.
Right, yeah.
But I do want to talk about.
Well, hold on. What's your favorite?
My favorite, I would honestly, I think I'd go with Netflix. I like that nice ad-free. It's the most reliable to me. It's the only streaming service that's never really crashes on me. A lot of them crash on me.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But what I really want to get into in this podcast, what I really want to delve into is sort of talking about the streaming model. Because the way,
love models. Usually I love models, but the streaming model can't handle it.
Who's your favorite model?
Well, now we're getting into the good stuff. No, I'm kidding.
What was I saying?
The streaming model.
So the way I want to talk specifically about TV, because the way, and then we'll get into streaming movies, but I want to talk about TV first because I think it's so interesting. We used to like indulge in these big 22 episode seasons week to week. And some streaming services, most of them I'd argue, are starting to get back to that week to week, but now it's more so around like 8 episodes for a season, 10 episodes. Um, and I want to get into, first of all, what are your thoughts on that first?
Well, I think it definitely has to do with money, as everything always does. I think when you think about those 22 episode seasons way back then, they were pretty cheap and they relied mostly on the actors to
Mm-hmm.
propel the, right? Like you think about Friends or How I Met Your Mother or any of the sitcom kind of formats, even the cop procedural dramas, they're all in very fixed locations. The comedy is mostly about the dynamics or like the relations the characters have to each other. So you could fart out like 30 episode seasons as long as they're 20 minutes, tell a complete story, and you get back to normal by the end of the thing. And I think now with Stranger Things, with Game of Thrones, right? It's about the spectacle. It's like,
Yes.
what are the characters doing? Like not with other characters, but what are their actions? And those actions need to be discussion worthy because a lot of these shows rely on word of mouth, people talking about it on social media, right? Everyone wants to know what the big Stranger Things villain just said in the
Yeah.
last one. So it has to be showy and you have to split it up into like 8 episodes because the budget being sunk into each episode is so hefty.
Is massive. And I really think because of that, I think it's been great for TV, and you've seen the quality of TV, like the feature level. But with that, there's also this idea of there's so much stuff being poured out constantly. And I kind of
Mm-hmm.
want to turn to Disney Plus too, specifically when talking about this, because they have all these massive franchises.
The output, yeah.
And it used to be, I was talking about this with one of my buddies the other day. Like it used to be like maybe there was one big thing every month that was like, that's the thing that owns this month. Maybe it was
Right.
even every 2 or 3 months, really. There was that one big thing that everybody
Mm-hmm.
would get excited for. And now it feels like there's like 5 every weekend that are
Yeah.
coming out, and it's become a lot. And specifically with the Disney, I want to talk more about like their franchise stuff with what they've done with like Marvel and Star Wars, where I almost feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's too much now, and it's at the point where it's like I can't even remember what the last shows were that came out because it's just like
Yeah. It's hard to feel
I,
invested when there's
yeah.
constantly stuff to keep up with.
And so I kind of wanted to talk too about what do you think is the perfect balance for
Hmm.
that?
That is a good question. I mean, I do miss like early 2010s when there was like 4 Marvel movies a year and that was it.
Yeah,
Like one every couple of months. Like
maybe three.
you get
I feel like you got three
right.
Marvel movies
You
a
get
year.
the
They
lead
could
up.
spread out every 4 months. Yeah,
Mhm. And the model of like the lead up to the film, like you get to like watch the trailers, be like, oh, who's that? What's that? And then right, the movie comes out, everyone discusses it, and then there's a cool down, and then the next one. Now it feels like they announce 10 movies a year. And so
yes.
you're always thinking about what's next.
And then 15 TV shows on top of
Oh
that,
my God.
and they're all
And the TV
interconnected.
shows are all of varying quality because the production is like so cut up and
Well,
fast
the
paced.
production company is now being like spread thin.
Right. And they don't have time to
So
do reshoots or like redos because like Miss Marvel's got to come out before She-Hulk. So like let's keep it going, right?
yeah,
And I think with Star Wars especially because it's very ironic to me because Star Wars is this vast expansive universe and like the possibilities are essentially endless. But all of their shows feel very like
we're staying in the same time era in the same location.
same time and it's all humans. And it's like
Mhm.
why would we not want to explore further?
I will say I do think they're trying to get away from that. I've a lot of the shows that they have announced coming up. They have
Mhm.
one called Skeleton Crew and then the Acolyte. Those seem like they're going to be very, very much their own thing. I think that's great for the franchise, and I think it'll turn out great.
Well, one more note on that is I feel like they're doing what Marvel is doing where everything is connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like every character meets the other character. And I feel like you're kind of limiting yourself creatively if like everything
Yeah.
has to be going on at the same time. Like I would rather see like stuff, everything is like eons apart and like the technology has changed, or like the villains have like shifted somewhat, or just more aliens, less desert planets, less humans, more aliens.
Yeah. Alrighty. So now I kind of want to get into the next part. And the way I have this podcast like planned out in my brain is we're going to get into it, guys. But right now we got to take the baby steps. And then
Yeah, you are guiding
hopefully,
all of us pretty
hopefully,
much.
hopefully this isn't a mess at the end and I'm able to like full circle it. But who knows? Welcome to the Mr. Movies podcast.
That's the
Um,
promise.
Streaming versus week to week. A lot of streaming services now are jumping onto the week to week. Netflix refuses. And I feel like their calling card is the binge. And I see that both as good and bad. So there's two shows I'm going to talk about. One a Netflix show, one is a show that aired on cable.
Okay.
This weekend, season 5 of Cobra Kai came out.
Mm-hmm.
All episodes. Now, to me, I love that because the way Cobra Kai is shot, it feels like a movie.
Okay.
Like it just feels like every season is a movie. It's usually about 5.5 hours, so it's like a
So by
really long
binging
movie.
the whole thing, it feels like a movie.
It feels like a movie. And then the final season of Better Call Saul. So here's what I want to talk about. I feel like Cobra Kai came out this weekend. I talked about it yesterday with some people at work. I'll probably talk about it a little bit tomorrow. And then I got to wait till season 6. No one's really going to be talking about it till season 6.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul. Every week, an amazing episode would happen. Oh my gosh, we got to talk about it. A week later, another like banger episode. We got to talk about it. And so the show kind of lasts longer.
Right.
And it's fun. Now, I think for Cobra Kai, the binge model works because again, it feels like a movie. Now, something like Stranger Things for me, this last season where every episode was like feature length, I think that should have been week to week.
Right.
Because Stranger Things came out, everyone was talking about it for a week. No one's really talking about it anymore.
Well, Stranger Things actually did something very interesting where they released like the first 6 episodes all at once. And then they took a month and then released the other 2.
So they said they did that for visual effects.
Sure.
My theory is they spent so much money on that season, they were like, we gotta like somewhat milk this thing.
Right. But I think that's actually a really clever way to have the best of both worlds, right? Like,
yes.
I miss the mid-season finale, Frank. That's something I can get into later. But I love it when a whole season of a show has a midpoint.
I will say, I used to love, especially like watching Arrow and stuff. They used to do the best mid-season finales, and like it was like this huge thing happened, and then it was off for like a month and a half, and it was like, oh my gosh, and you were talking about it, and I will never forget specifically with Arrow. And I was young, so I wasn't on the internet. I didn't know stuff. Nowadays, you know, like stuff and character cameos are going to happen like way before. Sure. I remember I'd like to have this vivid memory of like watching an episode. It was the episode before the mid-season finale, and I was watching it with my dad, episode 208 of Arrow. And the episode ends, and this promo comes up for the next episode. And they were like, and everything will change. And they're showing all these like big action shots, you know, trying to get me hyped. And then it just comes up in a flash. And then they have Barry Allen come out. I remember like not knowing that was going to happen. Like I remember that's probably one of like the biggest like surprises for me ever.
I can
like
hear
watching
you
TV.
screaming.
That is like, that was one of the happiest moments ever watching TV. And I just remember me and my dad being like, oh my gosh. And then finding out that it was going to be like a TV show and stuff. It was just this great thing. Like that was such a great moment. And I feel like people nowadays are so like robbed of that.
I don't think we've ever had that with like anything recent.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the shows are either dumped and you get like the time frame to join the conversation by watching it, or like it comes out weekly and you just have to like keep up and like engage in the discussions. Because I do think it's smart to have some kind of bingeability because
Yes.
people are impatient, right? If you have a long if you have a long season and it's coming out weekly, people are gonna like get kind of like impatient, I think.
So I agree. I think it depends on the show.
Another very
So
good point, right?
I'm watching right now. I just started. And I'll say I like what HBO Max does,
Mm-hmm.
where they're week to week, but usually the first week they'll drop like the first 3 episodes of a show.
I was gonna say The Boys did that.
And I think that's genius because you binge it, you're in it. I just started watching the show The Patient on FX,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great show, but it's only like 22-minute episodes, and you get
Ooh.
one every week. And I love the show when I'm watching it, but it's kind of one of those things where it's so slow coming out now that I'm kind of like,
Especially 22
I'm
minute
not I'm
episodes.
not eager to watch. Once I'm watching it, I'm having a great time and I'm loving it, but I'm not, the eagerness isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind
Yeah.
of bumps me out as like a fan. Like, you want to be excited for these things. And
If you can't feel the momentum, then like I
yeah.
think that we have to think of this business wise because right, these companies aren't being like, we want the fans to be happy. Like they're doing it for money, right? They're doing
Yeah.
it for any kind of profit. Like shout out capitalism. But it's like they have to gauge what the public is feeling. And I remember with the boys season, I want to say 2, they released like the first 3 episodes and then we're like, and now the rest of it's week to week. And people were really angry at that.
Yeah.
Like
They review
they
bombed.
review
I
bombed the
remember
show
that.
because of how it came out. I think that's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is my family and I feel like the episodic stuff also has a downside because it does depend on the show. My family and I were trying to watch House of the Dragon, which is the new
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones spinoff. And we watched like the first 2 episodes weekly. And we were like, yeah, this is pretty good. But in the time between episodes, like we're talking about it and we're like, it's really not that good, is it? Or we're like, nothing much is happening, huh? Or it's like, I don't care about these characters.
See, I feel like the first 3 episodes are necessary. I really
Mhm.
like that model where, okay, let me get into it,
You
and then you
need
can take
you
me
need
week
to
to
like
week.
the characters or be given enough to care.
I'm the kind of person where I hate when I have to start a new TV show specifically because I hate pilots. Like,
Oh,
I
sure.
hate pilots because they have to introduce all
Me
these
on an
characters.
airplane. Sorry.
With your favorite model. Um, they have to introduce all these characters, all these plot points, and then there has to be some sort of plot twist at the end, so you're hooked to come back to next week. But it's like, do I even care at this point?
They're
Like,
like premise, premise, premise. And if you're someone like us who watches a lot of TV, you're like, oh my God, the side character comes in 3, 2, 1. Oh, there it is. Oh, here comes the plot. Oh, this guy's a villain. And it's like, it's very predictable.
I think superhero shows have an easier time with
Mm.
the pilot. I've noticed a lot of those. I've really enjoyed the pilot. Ones that stick out to me, Stargirl, that was on the streaming DC streaming service.
Whatever
Um,
happened to that, by the way? Is that still
it's
around?
still going. Yeah, they just started airing season 3. It's great.
No,
It
not
is so.
Stargirl. I meant the streaming service.
The DC streaming service. They made that like a year and a half before HBO Max came out. So now it kind of like
So
folded
HBO
in.
kind of absorbed it.
Yeah, so now like
Okay.
Titans and Doom Patrol are technically HBO Max originals.
If we do talk about like the future of streaming, I do think we can wait if we get to that, but like I'm pretty sure that's going to keep happening.
Yeah. Well, next I want to talk about. I feel like we've said what we had to say about TV.
Mhm.
Um, I want to get into movies next. What are your thoughts on the movies that come out on streaming?
Well, I think I hate have all of our answers are like it depends, which is like
Yeah.
kind of lame. But I like what HBO did in the past year where they're like one movie a month, right? The idea of like it still feels like something to gear up for and like get ready. I think these movies need to be advertised as if they will be released theatrically, right? Like
Yes.
have a trailer on YouTube, have like a press circuit, right? I think about Prey. Prey was like a Hulu original
Yes.
movie. I loved Prey. And
Prey
like
was great. It was their
I
biggest
I would have seen it in
premiere.
theaters. And like
I
I
agree.
didn't see any interviews with the lead, Amber Midthunder. I didn't see her talk about it at all. Like I feel like because it was a
I didn't know it was
streaming
coming out till like the weekend of.
right. It I think there needs to be the usual ramping up to the movie that you see with theatrical releases with streaming service movies. Otherwise, they're kind of set up to not fail, but like have less of a splash. If you,
I will
that
say
makes sense.
I've talked to producers and stuff who have
Mhm.
produced movies for streaming and straight up said, I don't understand how the business like works.
Nobody does,
And
from what I hear.
I don't think these people make a profit at all. I don't understand
Well,
how they
isn't
could.
that what Scarlett Johansson sued Marvel for Black Widow
Oh,
over?
she sued Disney. Well, that was a completely different. So basically, the way their contracts work is they get paid X amount of money to get um to be in the movie to
Right.
film it, and then once the movie is out in theaters, their
The
contracts say they get
residuals.
a percentage of the theatrical run.
And
So
because
when you're
Black
releasing your movie on streaming, you're losing out. I think that's a complete. That does play into the streaming
it's
thing. I think
related, but yeah.
it's complete. Yeah, that's more of an actor thing. I mean, they're going to find some way to evolve that. I don't care much about that. I'll be honest. Um,
Scarlett Johansson is already so rich. I don't like
you know,
integrity
she's
wise, I think she deserves what she was owed, but like we don't gotta split
she'll be
hairs.
okay.
Yeah.
She'll be okay. Um, I was going to make a joke, but I won't. Um,
No, go you can't tease that. What's what? What's up? Laughing at your own jokes over there? What's
okay,
going on?
we're gonna talk about the. I want to talk about the money that gets dumped into streaming movies, and I'm going to send you a link right now. We're going to pause recording the podcast.
Right, because we have 2 minutes left before it
Oh, I did not
closes.
know that. Well, fantastic. We're going to pause the podcast. I'm going to have you watch a trailer for a movie that was supposed to go to theaters. Netflix just acquired it. I believe it's coming out either this month or early next month.
Okay.
It is Rob Zombie's The Munsters.
Hmm.
And I want everybody, even listening to this podcast, if you like, pause and watch this trailer if you haven't already. I'm curious to know what you think. So I'm going to
Okay.
send it to you your way,
All right. We'll
and
pause the podcast. I'll watch it and then we'll see you
we'll
guys in a minute.
reconvene.
All right.
I can whip you up a humpy down in the land.
I just got the notification that you disliked the link.
So I watched it.
So I got to preface. I did not set this trailer got the internet was not kind to it, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't want to dog pile
Of
on it.
course. Right.
Everything that's been said about this has been said.
It looks fun. It
I've heard
looks like they had fun making it.
I heard someone say it looks like a porn parody.
Right. So those of you who I guess have
So
not seen it, it's The Munsters, which was like an
a
Addams Family
1960s TV
sitcom
show, yeah.
inspired thing. It was like your average black and white sitcom, except they're all like monsters, right? It's the Addams Family, but like more sitcom-y. Um, this is a movie attempting to bring the franchise back with a vengeance, and it looks put kindly. It looks horrendous. Like,
so that's what I want to get into now.
okay,
Quantity over quality.
right.
And I think it's pretty easy to say Netflix is probably the biggest. You know, they tend to put out a lot of stuff that isn't of the highest caliber.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I think when they put out great stuff, like they put out great stuff, but they tend to greenlight a lot, and I feel like they should be more picky. So Universal released this trailer and decided they were not going to release the movie in theaters.
Oh.
You sound surprised.
Well, I feel like a lot of people will watch the movie because it looks so bad.
Well, Netflix acquired it, and I don't know how much they acquired it for. But here's what I want. I want to play a guessing game with you. What do you think? There's a rumored budget of the movie.
A rumored budget.
There's a rumored budget. I don't know if there's any validity or weight to this, but there's been a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah.
I know the answer. I want you to guess how much this movie cost.
Well, okay, it's Rob Zombie, right? And he's a very prolific figure.
Yeah.
But it does star his wife, which does raise into question the budget. I don't know what I'm gonna say. It's probably pretty low. I'm probably gonna like 100,000.
The rumor.
Oh God, take a drink.
I gotta take a drink.
I overshot probably.
No, you didn't. The rumored budget for this film is $40 million.
Okay. I went in the other direction.
Yeah.
Where did that money go?
So again, I don't say this to dogpile on this movie. I feel bad. This movie has got a lot of crap. I'm not even mad at Rob Zombie. Who gave $40 million for this, though? It's true. Rumored. Again, it's rumored. But even if it's half of that, even if it's half, this looks like something a bunch of friends got together with, like, whatever change they could, like, come up with.
Yeah.
And
it looks like a fan film. Yeah.
It looks like a YouTube fan film.
And, like, I actually watched the original Munsters show because, like, that was just one of the things, like, the first TV shows I watched. But I have not met a single soul who knows what the Munsters is.
Yeah,
like, I thought it was a very niche thing. And, like, I learned about the Munsters before the Addams Family. And then I was like, oh, the Addams Family, like, came first. And it's
like, I'm just scrolling through the comments, and it's like,
so,
this
like,
looks more like a parody skit than an actual trailer. This feels way more like a half-baked Munsters parody than a proper reboot. And someone wrote The Munsters as written, produced, and performed by your community theater. Ooh. Like, it does not.
Yeah, they're not being overly kind.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, well,
film class project.
I was gonna say it's probably made with love and a passion for the project, but not if that much money is somehow missing.
Not if a quarter of that much money.
Do you think all right. Totally guessing. Do you think he pocketed it?
I definitely think there's studios that embezzle money where I watch movies and I'm like,
let's not kid ourselves. Yeah.
Let's not. Yeah. Like, come on. Like, I don't know what happened here. I'm hesitant to say it was 40. Like, I literally can't believe it's 40. Like, I physically.
It's the kind of rumor where, like, for anything else, I wouldn't believe it, but, like,
I don't know. I cannot believe it. Like, my brain is having such a hard time believing that it could be made.
Well, okay, back to your point of quality over quantity. Like, I feel like bad movies. Oh, go on.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about HBO Max as the movie of the month, and I like that. Netflix does the movie of the week, sometimes the movies of the week.
Right.
And even when they're good, no one's talking about them.
I remember Red Notice, right? Red Notice, it's with Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot,
Yes.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Like, it came out. I hadn't seen a trailer for it. I didn't know it was happening.
They don't advertise their movies at all, too.
It came out. I watched it, and it had a good budget because like there's a lot of like effects that had big names. So like clearly a lot of money and choreography and like set design went into it. I didn't hear anyone talk about it. And then Netflix was like, Red Notice is the #1 movie in the world.
So that's another thing. That with being their biggest movie in the world, I don't know a single person that watched it.
They announced 2 more. They were like, we're coming out with 2 more Red Notice movies. Like, you loved it so much, we're giving you a trilogy. And it's like,
so I don't understand streaming. And part of the reason I want to talk to you about this, because from our past reviews, you watch a lot of those aimed at like teen girls.
Oh, for sure.
Like, they're not supposed to be.
I watch bad Netflix movies in order to like punish myself. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm kind of curious your stance, having actually like indulged in some of these. When you watch stuff like that, what's going through your head?
Well,
as far as like the business point.
Right. I'm usually pretty drunk, so what's going through my head is not smart or critical. But when I'm not in love with the Trader Joe's peach wine I'm slathered on, what I think about in these movies is obviously, I think a lot of the budget goes towards the star power, right? Because there are a lot of actors that young audiences are like invested in or like in love with. And so you have like the big names of like the heartthrob teen boys, right? Classic example would be like what Noah Centineo was, right? It's like,
or they had that movie with like Addison Rae that came out.
Right.
All that.
It's the big names. So
and
I think a majority of the budget has to go to the big names because it does a lot of the marketing for you. It's like this TikToker has like 8 million followers. Like, they're gonna go see a movie that they're in. So I think the rest of the budget definitely goes towards like renting out setting or like getting.
That's true, because like what if a 10th of like Addison Rae's audience decides to like seek out that movie, it's a successful movie,
right?
Financially,
especially if they don't spend that much money on the rest of the production.
Yeah.
And so the story beats are always very plain. Like, there's always some expensive stuff like, oh, the main character he's all that, right? He's like riding a horse, and like you got to pay for like the horse. You gotta he trains horses, and then the night of the prom he rides in on a horse. You got to watch it. It's great. So but like that obviously is like a spectacle, but like renting a horse is like, it's expensive to us, but like for a movie studio, it's probably pretty regular.
Pocket change, yeah.
So like the budget, I don't know, it's definitely laundering. I don't want to say that, but like they're definitely trying to spend as little money making the movie as possible.
That's fair. So I feel like now we've kind of talked about streaming as it is. And I kind of want to talk about the future of streaming, because I feel like we're starting to see a bunch of services kind of combine and evolve. I think eventually we'll see the day where Hulu and Disney Plus just kind of merge.
That's gonna happen, yeah, probably.
What do you think? And what do you think about the prices? Because like they're obviously going to keep going up, and like
my overall attitude with
what is your attitude with prices going up for the content we're getting?
Oh, we're essentially paying for quantity right now.
Yes.
And I don't think that's fair with the way prices are continuously going up.
Yes.
It's like, I wouldn't want to pay $20 a month for like 3 She-Hulk level shows. No offense, She-Hulk. But like, I need more to justify spending that much money. And especially if I'm already having to choose which streaming services to support. And like ideally, I would like so right now I'm like fresh out of my parents. So like they're still paying for the streaming services, but like that clock's ticking because my dad hates them all. So it's like when I do have to pay for my own streaming,
what am I gonna want?
Well, I feel like the perfect plan is to spend 1 month on one streaming service, right? Like
That's
January is an Amazon Prime. I catch up on everything there. February is Hulu. I watch everything that I missed on Hulu. Like dedicating 1 month to one streaming service, I think, is like the
I
only
will
way
say
to not break the bank.
Hulu has a special place in my heart. I was on that that I think I already explained this on the podcast. I basically I had a Hulu account. I stopped paying for Hulu, but my Hulu account still works. So they have a special place in my heart.
Because you robbed the company. I think my overall attitude with streaming services is that it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think it is possible to have some kind of workable system, but like it's not going to happen tomorrow or next month. Probably not even in the next few years. Because like I do think they are going to merge, but like I don't think anything can compete with Disney.
I think they just announced Paramount Plus and Showtime are going to merge.
And like even if they do, like I don't think that holds a candle to Netflix or Hulu. And it's like Disney is the thing that's putting out the most stuff right now that isn't like justifiable based on what we're spending on it. Like I like the Disney Plus shows, but clearly like we're not getting what we're paying for.
Yeah.
And I think streaming used to be like you pay for the library, right? You used to pay to have.
Now everybody wants their library back.
Right. The libraries are shifting constantly. It's like
because
a movie that's
we
on
own
Netflix.
this, and now we're going to start our own streaming service. Of course, we want this, so we want it back. Well, now what? Something like Netflix that doesn't really own anything has to make their own stuff.
Right. And so, additionally, some movies just are on a constant rotation. Like they don't, nobody owns them, but like they're in a different place like every few months.
They do need to make like one app where you just log into everything and then it's just all there, because it is annoying.
Yeah, right. And like part of me is like what Amazon does is like some of its stuff is free and then some of the movies you pay like $2 for. And it's like if there was one app where everything cost $2, I think I would do that.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather pay a little bit for a lot than pay like a monthly price for anything.
I think you nailed that. God bless. I think that was the pinnacle of the podcast.
But what are your thoughts? I really want to hear your summary of this whole thing.
I feel the same. I think I don't know where it's headed. I don't think Netflix, I think in 10 years from now, I don't think Netflix is going to be around.
Ooh, wow.
I think Disney's definitely going to take over the streaming game, especially if they merge with Hulu. They've won.
Nothing's stopping them. Yeah.
Nothing's stopping them because they're going to have the library.
I wouldn't want Disney to own everything.
I got some bad news. They already do.
Yeah, I'm going to be a very unhappy man in this life.
I was going to say, they kind of already do. I like Amazon Prime. I don't see them switching their model too much. I feel like they kind of have just dipped their toe into the streaming game, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, The Boys and the new Rings of Power show are like very clearly well done from Amazon. I think they do a lot of smaller shows, but
listen, here's the thing with Amazon. Okay, I pay to get my packages fast. The streaming service is just a perk for me. Like I'm not too,
Yeah.
I just want to get my packages. Sorry.
It's not really worth paying Prime if you're not getting the packages.
That was the whole point of this podcast, just so we could get to that point.
Well, actually, I do want to, if we're wrapping things up, there is something worth mentioning, which is that recently, like 2 years ago, the Supreme Court killed the studio antitrust laws. So
I don't know about this.
since like 1948, there was like some landmark Supreme Court case, which was like the studio system like can't be essentially what it is right now. And like streaming services was like beginning to push up against that. And 2 years ago, the Supreme Court was like, the antitrust laws, meaning like we don't really want to give you guys all this power to like own and manipulate the market.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court got rid of it. No idea why, but that's why all of these streaming services are happening, and that's why the price can go up as much as it does. So if you're mad at the streaming
Blame the Supreme Court.
I'm not kidding.
Yes,
like, they legitimately.
That was the full circle. I told you we were gonna get there. It all comes back to the Supreme Court, baby.
Yeah, God.
We got them. We got them.
They couldn't set up a streaming service. They're so old. Like, I doubt they'd find the remote to do it. And yet they just determined.
I don't even know where the Library of Congress is. That's what they'd say, those old hags.
Oh my God. Well, is that it? Is that all we got?
I didn't know the Supreme Court did that. That kind of peeves me off.
Yeah.
Back when I was a boy, we watched a video of the train coming into the station. I paid 3 nickels out of my pocket to see it.
There are 2 things I believe. That is that the studio should own everything and manipulate the market, and also women can't vote.
When I saw that train coming to the screen, I grabbed onto my pantaloons so tight I almost wet myself.
I said, Mommy, Daddy, Disney's got to own this footage someday.
This to the house of the mouse.
Glory be to Mickey and Minnie. My God.
You'll never find a more supreme. You'll never find a more accurate depiction of the Supreme Court than on the MrMovies podcast.
We're practically members.
Well, that's the episode.
Thanks for watching.
Give it a like, subscribe, and tickle that bell notification.
Tickle it.
You got anything else to add?
If you're gonna stream anything, stream the word of the Lord. Go to church this Sunday.
Go to church this Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Go to the movies and watch the movie Barbarian. It's fantastic. I was one of those rare movies I knew nothing about it going in, and I had a good time. I laughed. I was spooked a little. It was fun. It was a good time.
That's a good recommendation. I'll throw one out too. Everyone should go watch She-Hulk. Watch multiple episodes on multiple devices. Run the numbers up. We want more seasons, more Disney products. It's so referential. They've got like, I can spoil it probably. They got Wong and Abomination. Characters. Abomination. It's things that we know. Daredevil. Long live streaming.
Long live streaming. I won't stop streaming. You know,
we can't.
We can't.
All right, that's it. Bye. Love you. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for streaming the MrMovies podcast. We love you.
God, we're hypocrites. Bye.
Bye.